With nearly 12,000 tools available, selecting the right MarTech can be challenging. Meet the MarTech Intelligence Reports, free buyer's guides exploring specific platforms, including purchase considerations, leading players, adoption trends, and more. No matter where you are in the purchase journey, MarTech Intelligence Reports can help.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining this session with me on the fastest ways to drive performance in Q4 and beyond on CTV. I'm Rebeccah Bakich, Digital Marketing Manager at MNTN, and I oversee all of MNTN's paid media efforts. So this includes paid search, paid social, and CTV advertising via our own MNTN platform. And with CTV sitting as a core channel of our own marketing mix, I'm excited to be walking you through some fast track tips for driving performance on CTV. So if CTV is either relatively new to your marketing mix or it's becoming a more predominant player in your strategy, I just want to cover some easy steps you can take to ensure you're maximizing on the impact of your campaigns as we head into Q4 in the holiday season. In today's session, I'll discuss best practices in campaign setup, refinement, and overall approach. And my hope really for today is that you can take the actionable steps covered and put them into practice immediately. So let's go ahead and dive in. First, I just want to review today's agenda. We'll be discussing how to best launch your CTV campaign. Then we'll cover how to optimize your creative for success. We'll cover a case study of a real MNTN customer, and then close out by talking about making the most of Q4 and beyond. So first things first, I just want to talk about the best strategies for launching your CTV campaign, because being successful on CTV really starts with your campaign setup. And after analyzing our top advertisers within the MNTN platform, we actually observed that the most successful brands don't delay their launches. And so what do we mean by this? Really, the lesson here is that we have found there are major benefits to launching both prospecting campaigns targeting your net new users and retargeting campaigns targeting past visitors at the same time when activating on CTV. Our data shows that advertisers who launch both campaign types at the same time are actually finding a faster path to profitable scale. And so while some brands may have turned to CTV looking for a new channel to adopt to attract net new traffic, net new users, net new conversions, which they should, since with CTV, you now have the ability to use that precision targeting within the television space that historically you have not. However, we really want to make sure that you're not forgetting that or missing out really on the lifetime value of existing customers and making your returning visitors as valuable as they can be over time. So it's important not to wait and see performance of your prospecting campaigns before considering launching your retargeting ones. We found that this will only really limit your returns for faster growth, because that delay is really only delaying your system's timeline to optimize. And just to dive a little bit deeper into that notion, our team actually performed an analysis of over 600 advertisers on the platform, and we compared the findings of those who just launched prospecting campaigns initially to those who launched both prospecting and retargeting campaigns at the same time. We actually found some pretty interesting results. So when launching and following the strategy of having both campaign types start at the same time, advertisers saw 27% more site traffic on average and around twice the amount of return on ad spend. Comparatively, those who waited to launch retargeting only saw 17% more site traffic versus that 27, and only 52% more ROAS versus that 2 times return on ad spend. So all in all, this is really why we recommend having that growth mindset from the get-go and not delaying the launch of your retargeting campaigns. We want you to be thinking about not only the net new users you want to capture by leveraging CTV, but also the lifetime value of those who have already visited your site. Now let's talk about campaign optimizations post your launch. In addition to the auto optimizations happening for your campaigns within the platform in real time, creative is always going to be a big performance trigger on CTV. So again, while the right CTV platform will continue to optimize towards your key KPIs, regular creative refreshes are one aspect you want to be sure to bake into your overall strategy. Brands within the Mountain platform are really finding success by ensuring they're regularly swapping in new CTV creative just to prevent that ad fatigue or ad blindness. And this makes a lot of sense. A recent survey that we found actually saw that 59% of consumers think there are too many repeated ads on connected TV. And so when thinking about creatives, we recommend mapping out regular refreshes for your campaigns as a way to prevent any negative impact on your performance. And that being said, when you're thinking about creative refreshes, there are multiple creatives to consider. Your first is evergreen creative, which we see top advertisers usually maintain evergreen campaigns throughout the year. These are your more higher funnel, brand awareness, always on campaigns. But this keeps your brand in play year round. And then the second is seasonal heavy ups, which are seasonal creatives that these advertisers activate to capitalize on tent poles, seasonal events, or sales opportunities. And by having this mix of evergreen campaigns with seasonal campaigns, you're actually able to maintain a consistent and opportunistic approach that creates sustained growth for your brand. So the key is to keep creatives fresh. And of course, this is going to be dependent on the type of campaign you're running. And maintaining evergreen performance means that creative will have enough time to optimize. So for evergreen campaigns, we recommend refreshing assets every 2 to 3 months, just so that the creative doesn't get stale. And then your seasonal campaigns can align to key business times and support seasonal or promotional pushes. And for these, we recommend refreshing creative every 10 to 20 days. Since these campaigns are opportunistic, this refresh timeline helps keep your creative specific to those key times. And while that may sound like a lot of creative required, which in turn could get pretty expensive, the truth is it does not have to be. We want you to work smarter, not harder. Remember, you absolutely do not have to reinvent the wheel every time when it comes to refreshing your videos. Small tweaks to creative you already have are often enough to make an asset feel refreshed. So what we actually see a lot of the time is that brands aren't actually going out and developing net new video creative for seasonal campaigns. Advertisers will actually take their evergreen assets and make some small variations to those that just make them more relatable to the seasonal moment. So for example, and what you see here on screen, our client Rumple is an advertiser that has seen great success with CTV. For their holiday campaign, they actually took their evergreen video and just switched up the voiceover and swapped out their end card to speak to the holiday sale going on for 25% off their site. And Rumple saw really great returns on this holiday campaign after already having their evergreen campaign in market. So you'll see with this example that it wasn't a huge production cost to commit to for a creative refresh, and it still brought in that seasonality aspect. So do you think it's beneficial for advertisers to understand that connected TV can be as agile as a social platform with your creative assets? And when it comes to net new creatives for CTV, it doesn't have to break your marketing bank. Mountain actually offers some unique and cost-friendly solutions, such as creative as a subscription or CAS. This model allows brands to bundle their creative and media spend in an easy, affordable, and effective way to advertise on CTV. And then there's actually the option to go work directly with QuickFrame by Mountain, which QuickFrame by Mountain is a creator marketplace that makes it easy to get videos that convert even on a limited budget. So with CAS, basically, if you have an annual commitment upfront to advertise on Mountain CTV, you'll have new CTV creatives produced by QuickFrame by Mountain throughout the year as an add-on to your advertising investment. And then if you did go ahead and work directly with QuickFrame by Mountain, that's a great solution for brands looking to extend into video advertising or looking to add creative to their existing strategies. So again, great options to keep in mind when thinking about CTV creative, just to get the best bang for your buck on your creative investment, and then you can put as much money back into delivering outcomes. And so then here's my final note on creative, but part of the reason why we think it's so important to have more creatives is because sometimes more really is more. Having enough creative on CTV is essential to delivering the best performance you possibly can. We saw brands with 3+ creatives saw on average 63% higher ROAS than advertisers with only one creative, and 31% lower cost per visit than advertisers with only one creative. So having that additional 2+ creatives will allow you to speak more organically to your audiences, capitalize on the moment, and ensure you're avoiding that creative fatigue. And so again, I want to just remind you, your creative variations don't need to be wildly different. Think about clever ways to switch up your creative assets, similar to how you would on other paid channels. And they're a client I mentioned already, but I do want to highlight Rumple's story and the success they've seen on CTV effectively. Rumple first came to Mountain in Q4 of 2021 to launch a CTV campaign to reach new audiences after seeing some inefficiencies with their paid social strategy. And after launch, their campaign automatically began to optimize towards their key KPIs of conversion and revenue. And the results, I hate to say it, but kind of speak for themselves. Their first prospecting and retargeting campaigns significantly outperformed their targeted ROAS goals in Q4. You can see over the entire quarter in Q4 of 2021, they beat their ROAS goal by 13%. And over that key Thanksgiving Christmas period, they reached a 44% higher ROAS than their Q4 target. So completely knocking it out of the park. And so why we continue highlighting Rumple's story with CTV and why we really dig into what their marketers are doing and the tactics that they're using for finding success on CTV is because in addition to the initial success they saw during the holidays and in Q4, they were able to achieve consistent long-term growth over an entire year plus. So over the entire course of 2022, they delivered almost 3 times return on ad spend. Their conversion rate was over 7%. They delivered 10.5 thousand conversions from performance TV alone. And then by leveraging Mountain's creative as a subscription, which I mentioned earlier, they were able to save money on their creative costs, reinvest that back into their media costs, and earn an additional $526.2 thousand of added revenue without increasing their marketing budget. So honestly, this is one brand that we really continue to learn from as fellow marketers in the CTV space. All right, so now I just want to transition to talk about the insights for Q4 we found as we approach the upcoming holiday season, so we can make sure it's the most successful Q4 to date. And since holiday planning is probably already top of mind, and as we are somehow heading into the end of September, it's likely beginning to look a little stressful. We know brands are tied to hit big goals this quarter and by the end of the holiday season, which is why that pressure really builds up so fast. So we took a look at last year's Q4 trends just to determine how to make the most of the holidays this year. And what we found is, well, holiday planning should start now, which means so should your CTV campaigns. From our findings, we determined the best way to maximize performance is actually to start with an evergreen lead-in to your holiday campaign launch. The benefit to this approach is that it helps widen your audience pool early so that once you hit launch on your upper funnel campaigns for your holiday campaigns, those users will actually already have you in their consideration set. So you'll see here on screen that advertisers who ran campaigns throughout Q4 drove better performance than those who waited to start their campaigns until November. They saw on average a 19% higher ROAS and a 23% higher conversion rate. And then my next tip would be to make sure you give enough time for your holiday campaigns to really ramp up. And in order to do so, consider launching your holiday campaigns earlier rather than right before Black Friday. You can set aside 60 to 90% of your budget for prospecting or upper funnel campaigns and start them 3 to 6 weeks out from Black Friday, just to allow time for setup, campaign optimization, and to generate a larger retargeting pool. And then at the end of November, consider shifting some of your prospecting budget to retargeting through December. And of course, in December, be sure to be swapping in those seasonal creatives throughout the entire month. This model helps you to ensure that you'll see growth throughout the entirety of Q4, leading to the strongest closeout of the year. And lastly, I just want to be sure to make sure that you don't let these insights go to waste in the new year, also known as Q5 now. This is a key period after what we consider the holiday season. Gift card recipients are ready to spend. Shoppers will be returning for in-store exchanges or upgrades. And this is why an evergreen, always-on approach can be so beneficial to help bolster the sales of those who've actually shown interest in your targeting already. So be sure to add the insights you learn in Q4 so you can continue to grow for seasons and years to come. All right, so I'd like to wrap up today's session by covering the key takeaways for you to walk away with. The first, success on CTV starts early with the right setup. Launching both prospecting and retargeting at the same time creates the fastest path to profitability. So remember, top advertisers aren't delaying their launches. And next, top CTV advertisers know to make the most of CTV, they should be running both evergreen and seasonal campaigns with enough creative to support both. But don't be afraid to get creative with how you add the variation to develop additional CTV assets. And lastly, Q4 prep should start now as shoppers continue to start early. An evergreen campaign combined with strategic holiday spending will result in top marks for this key period. And so with that, I want to thank you again for taking the time to join this session with me today, as well as extend a thank you to the MarTech team for having me. I want to wish you all a happy and healthy holiday season and a super successful Q4.
Thank you for watching. Click the agenda link at the top of your screen to choose your next session.